Good evening. The Belmont chapter of the National Honor Society thanks you for attending the Candidates Night. Each speaker will introduce themselves, then answer questions posed by the members of the Belmont High School chapter of the NHS, and then afterward, candidates will have a maximum of 5 minutes for additional comments. Tonight's Candidate Night will be filmed with intent to stream at a later date. So let's begin. One at a time, could you please introduce yourself and tell us what you love about Belmont or Canterbury if you're running for selectman, or Shakerville Regional School District if you're running for the school board.
My name is Doug Trotter. I've been living in the town of Belmont for the majority of my adult life. Sorry about that. My name is Doug Trotter. I have lived in the town of Belmont for over 30 years. Things that I love about Belmont is the community itself. I gotta say, I have children in the school district, and one of the best principals I dealt with over the years is sitting here tonight, Mr. Hill. We have a great school district, in my opinion. The reason why I'm running for the Board of Selectmen is I think change. I want transparency, and I would like to work with the Board of Selectmen, the other board of members, to improve the town and continue to go the way we are.
Good evening, my name is Brian Gardner. I've been in Belmont since 2009. It's a nice little community, actually not a little big, but also the school system served my son well, and I would like to serve on the Board of Selectmen to better the town with different ideas, fresh blood.
So my name is Sharon Champy, and I was elected last year for 1 year. So I thought I would throw my name in and see if I could get a little bit of longer term, because I've learned a lot in the last year, and there's still more to learn. I feel that I have the experience to be on the board. I have been cemetery trustee for about 12 years, and so my name's on the ballot for that. So keep that in mind. I've been on the zoning board and the budget committee and the selectmen, and I would like to continue to learn and serve the people in the town of Belmont.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming. I'm Ruth Mooney. I presently serve on the, what do I serve on? As the chairman of the Board of Selectmen. This would be, I'm working on my 9th year. I've born and raised in this town, both my husband and myself, so I won't tell you how many years I've lived in this town. But obviously, very committed to this town. I want to keep it the small town atmosphere that it is, and obviously, we have a lot of business on the Board of Selectmen that we're going to have to be dealing with in the coming next 2 or 3 years, and just trying to hope that my past experience will help with our future endeavors. Thank you.
My name is Beth Blair. I'm running for Board of Selectmen in Canterbury. What I like best about Canterbury are my neighbors and the sense that there is always somebody close at hand to help you out of a tough spot or just to pass the time of day. Canterbury and Belmont have a lot of common interests, and I would like to get to know them better and work with the town, my town and your town, in our common interests, and also to keep things neighborly. Thank you.
My name is Calvin Todd. I am running for selectman in Canterbury. This is difficult for me because it's hard to say what you don't like about Canterbury. It's been a wonderful place to raise my family and plant roots, and I'd like to serve as a selectman there to help maintain that and watch it positively grow for the future and interject a younger voice with different reasons for expansion and controlled growth.
I'm Michelle Lewis. I'm from Canterbury, and I'm running for re-election to the school board. I've been in Canterbury for 21 years, and my children have all been through the Canterbury Elementary School, Belmont Middle School, Belmont High School, and I'm really proud of the Shaker Regional School District and the work that we have done as the two communities coming together to have high standards. I'm looking forward on building on the work that we've done over the years to have our students go on into the workforce, to college, to the military, to go where they want to go and to achieve what they want to achieve. So I'm running again to build on the great work that we're doing in Shaker and improve it even more.
Hi, I'm Jessica Treadway. I am running also for the Canterbury seat for the Shaker Regional School Board. I've lived in Canterbury for just over 10 years. I moved here in 2013. And we moved to New Hampshire to have a great place to raise our family. When we moved here, we were looking for a rental, and the rental we found just happened to be in Canterbury, and we fell in love with it. So when we were looking to buy, we definitely wanted to stay in town. It was close to where I worked. It all worked out for us, and we just fell in love with the town. The small town charm, it's so cute, it's so sparse, like it's so geographically huge, but then people tiny. So we love it there. The schools are great. My experience with the schools through my children, they're both in the elementary school. So Canterbury Elementary has been where my primary experience has been, and I just love that I have the ability to be able to go in and participate in what they're doing, chaperone their field trips, read to their classes. You know, I have friends that have kids in bigger schools and they have to basically put their name in a lottery to be able to chaperone the field trips for their kids, and I can just go in and say, hey, I want to go, and then I get to go. So that's what I like about our schools. They're small enough to be as involved as you want to be and be able to make a difference in the education your children receive.
Hi, I'm Jeff Roberts, running for re-election to Belmont. Well, I'm sorry, I'm from Belmont. I don't do public speaking well, so bear with me. But I got my education from Shaker Regional back in the day. I've lived there my whole life, and it served me well, so I've been on the board and we've been doing some great things. And I'd like to see it continue and see what we started this last couple of years to continue it. Hopefully I'll get re-elected. Thank you.
Actually, why don't we leave it down there?
Okay, so for all the candidates, being on the school board or select board is an important commitment. Explain your past level of involvement and engagement in the town or school district. Please include any relevant experience on or working with committees, boards, or participating in town or district meetings and events.
All right, I guess I'll go first. Well, if anyone knows the history of Belmont, my grandmother was a principal, so I was a vice principal, and I was brought up kind of told a lot, brought to events and stuff, so that's where I first got started being involved. And then when I graduated high school, I went to college to become a teacher, and that's it only lasted for a little bit because, quite frankly, the teachers had more patience than I thought I had. Because I did it for half a year, and I was like, I can't do this. So, because I don't have the patience for it. I love to teach, but I didn't have the patience. So, but my other experiences, I've always been involved in community, like home day and everything like that. And I believe education is a very strong pillar that we need for our community, and I'm passionate about it. Also, I like being fiscally responsible, and I love budget. So, that's all I have to say.
All right, so I mentioned before chaperoning field trips. So I've done that. My son is in 5th grade, my daughter's in 1st grade, so I've done that since he started in kindergarten. I have volunteered to chaperone every single field trip I can go on that I can get the day off work to go. I love participating with them, going, seeing the things that they do. I am currently the room mother for my son's 5th grade class, so I coordinate their class parties, help bring in some treats, make sure they have what they need, and have a good time. And I also oversaw some of and participated in the fundraising for the 5th grade trip to Nature's Classroom. We were able to raise enough money to decrease their cost from $375 down to $125. So we were very successful in our fundraising, and it played an integral role in that. I was also on the withdrawal committee this 2nd year of it, which really led to my interest in running for school board. I learned a lot through that process, and it interested me enough that I read some more and learned some more and decided to run for school board to try to make a difference that way. On a broader scope, since I don't have a lot of experience yet, my kids are little, through my profession, I'm a pharmacist by profession, so I have participated in Board of Pharmacy focus groups where we drafted statutes and rules for a brand new class of pharmacy technician. We created that and drafted the rules, and I was a part of that. I also served on the focus group to talk about continuous quality improvement, how we can improve the safety of our pharmacies. And then the last one was addressing pharmacy workload, trying to keep our pharmacies safe and get the work done properly.
So I've been on the school board for the past 6 years, and my time on the school board, I've served as chair for the last 2 years and vice chair before that. In terms of the school board, I also serve on the policy committee for the past 6 years, chairing that for most of the time. I also was on the negotiating committees related to teacher contracts as well as support staff contracts, and I was very involved with something called Appendix B, which is all your co-curricular activities. There's an Appendix B committee that I'm involved in. In terms of the town, upon us moving into town 21 years ago and starting our family in Canterbury, we immediately jumped in and I became the coordinator of the Canterbury soccer program before it became part of the rec committee. So we were coordinating, 85 children pre-K to 5 in terms of coordinating schedules and meeting with the different towns to organize that, and I volunteered to do that for 5 years. I also was a project leader in Canterbury Rascals 4-H program, as well as for 3 years I served as the Merrimack County Youth Leadership Team youth advisor, so I volunteered in that capacity. I also volunteer at cross-country meets and track meets. I volunteered at robotics this year, which if you haven't been, I'll put in a plug to really check out robotics. I hadn't been involved until recently. I also serve in a lot of capacities around the state related to education because of my professional background. So I'm volunteering to serve on committees that focus on education. So I've really spent a lot of time volunteering in Canterbury. We are currently, I say we, our entire family 10 years ago became co-race directors for the Canterbury Woodchuck Classic 5K and Chipmunk Scramble. So we took that over 10 years ago, and every member of our family, we have, there's my husband and I, and then our 2 kids, each have a specific aspect of that race that we coordinate, from sponsorships to finish line to different prizes and laying out the track and all of those things. So being involved with the community and getting to know people has been a really important piece for me, as well as supporting the students in the Shaker Regional School District. Thanks. Yeah, it's
Sorry, I'm space cadet when it comes to remembering stuff after 10 minutes. So I've been in town for 10 years, and about 5 of them I've been volunteering on different committees within the town. I've been a member of the zoning board since 2019, and since 2022 I've been on the town budget committee, and then last year I served on the school withdrawal committee. Outside of Canterbury, I'm on the board of directors for Concord Crush Lacrosse, as well as coaching youth and high school lacrosse. I volunteer nationwide for various veteran service organizations. Just trying to do the best I can to be around in town and help out. So I think all my skills and my experiences definitely will contribute to my goals of becoming a selectman. So thank you.
Excuse me. To me, being on the Board of Selectmen in Canterbury is the next step up in the next step in the volunteer work I've been doing in Canterbury since 1990 when we moved into town. I sat on the Municipal Building Committee, which helped reimagine the whole center of Canterbury, where we used to have the highway department sheds and the fire department, and it was just a bunch of old buildings that we reimagined as now the Elkins Public Library, and then we built a new municipal center up across from the elementary school. For the past 13 years, I've been a board member and I've done all the publicity for the Canterbury Community Farmers Market, which I hope to see many of you there this summer. Opening day, June 5th. For 11 years, I edited and produced the town newsletter, so I had to interact with all the boards in town to get their news, to make sure it was correct, get it in a timely way, and try and pull information from people who I thought it was important that their information got out to the town, and they weren't necessarily so good about getting information to me. For 20 years, I have volunteered at the Canterbury Fair in a whole variety of roles, from running the chicken barbecue to helping the Morris dance team get organized. And then for a number of years, I was co-leader, it was about 7 years, of the Halloween extravaganza that we used to have up at Shaker Village, if any of you ever attended that. And after that time, we moved that whole event into the town center, and it's been another 5 years helping transition that. Now the rec department runs that. By profession, I'm a graphic artist and designer. I've co-owned 2 children's health publication businesses and co-written and illustrated a series, the Everything Kids series of puzzle books, if any of your kids have ever read those. So the skills I've gained professionally and through my community volunteering, I believe have prepared me to work well with a number, with the team, with the town management team, and to continue to serve the community that I love. And I am highly motivated to keep things neighborly, to keep the conversation open between different boards in town, different people in town, and so I'm particularly pleased to be invited here tonight. I don't know how much the select board actually interacts with Belmont, but I will be very excited to find out should I be elected. Thanks very much.
I'm going to start with my involvement and engagement. I started as a member of the board of the budget committee, thinking that that was a good position to start in to kind of get a feel for what it all boils down to: taxes and money. All right, the budget end of it. I served on the board on the budget committee before making the decision to run for selectman. And while selectman, one of the positions I held was on the Conservation Commission, although at the moment I act as the select board's rep to the budget committee. I'm presently treasurer of the South Road Cemetery Association. It is an association-run cemetery, but by law, each town has to have an active cemetery, and it is also listed as Belmont's town cemetery, very important. I also serve on the Finance Council for St. Joseph's Parish, which I think we all know where St. Joseph's Parish is in Belmont. Relevant experience. I think it's so important, I feel it's so important to have a good background experience. This is a job. Well, I take it as a job. And I have a lot of people to answer to. And I think my work career started as assistant to the department, to the commissioner of the Department of Safety. I actually worked under 2 different commissioners. That department oversaw the state police, fire marshal, motor vehicle, as well as other departments. From there, I went into construction. I worked for a construction company up in Holderness, which was called Trapper Brown. Very successful business back then. In fact, for some of you older folks, if you remember Calvin Brown, who was our tax collector and treasurer many years ago, this was his brother. From there, I left Trapper Brown and helped Bill Mogul start Peachy Construction, which is housed in Belmont. They built a beautiful office building on Corporate Drive, still a very successful business. I moved on to, and some of you, this is bringing back the past, Mooney Corp, Province Sand and Gravel, Province Kiln Dry Firewood, These were all businesses that my husband and I had, that we had within town through the years. I think it's important, and this is, as far as I'm concerned, my husband and my commitment to this town. We developed and built all the commercial buildings that sit on Old Prescott Hill Road. In fact, the, what is it called, it's not MetroCast now, Breeze Line was an office building that we built and then later on sold. We developed and built Briarcrest Estates from the ground up through, Granite Ridge Condos, Orchard Hill 2, the Orchards. We had to create a water and sewer company on Prescott Hill. That's where I feel I get my water and sewer experience from. Belmont Fire Station. We donated, delivered everything that created that site underneath the building. As many people, that was a total volunteer effort many years ago. The business park across from the post office. Those are all buildings with a partner that we built. We extended the water and sewer to that area, which then obviously created the vault. And I'll say Vault 1 and Vault 2. Very, very important to our town. Tax base is huge, both commercially and residentially. Most of our businesses were in this town. St. Joseph's Parish, we did all of the site work, served on those boards, did a lot of fundraising to build that beautiful facility in church, our church in the middle of town. If anyone lives on Bolter Drive, Stonington, some Levitt Road, those are homes that we built. We are very, very instilled in this community, and I really feel my construction experience that I've had for over 40 years is a very good asset, as well as obviously having businesses when you're dealing with budgets and numbers, huge. It is a lot. The budget committee has a lot to undertake, and it's so important that we keep those committees and work forward to keep our tax rate under control. Thank you.
I guess for me, it all started with the friend. I had that one friend that said to me, hey, Sharon, are you busy? Come here and help me do this. Or come join me here and do this. And that's how I ended up on the cemetery trustees. I had the friend and she's like, there's an open position. And it kind of plays into me. One of my strongest loves is the history of the town. I love exploring who was here before us and how they impacted how we are today, the things that they left behind, and working to preserve some of that stuff. So I've been doing that a really long time. And then I had another friend that said, hey Sharon, are you busy? And I said, I got some time, why? And she says, well, it's time to sign up for elections and we have some openings that we need someone to fill. So I thought I would throw my hand into the zoning board of adjustment. She says, it's not bad, you can learn quickly, everybody's very helpful and friendly, and you'll pick it up in no time. And then that led to the budget committee. So I've been on those three boards. I did 1 3-year term for all those, and I did it all at the same time. I also, through the suggestion of several other friends, created the petition article from moving the board of selectmen from 3 to 5. That was a very interesting undertaking, and I learned a lot more about the politics of town and how things work. And it just so happened that I had a few people after that had suggested that I run. And I thought, well, I'll just put in that 1 year just to see how it goes. And I think it's been going pretty well. The townspeople have been very accepting of me, very friendly. They feel that I'm approachable, and they reach out to me and ask me, you know, my opinion and how I think things are going in town. Also, because of my position as a selectman, I was appointed selectman's rep to the Conservation Commission, and also chose to be the selectman's rep to the Heritage Commission as well. And right now, working with a very awesome group of volunteers that we are getting together and forming a nonprofit program for the district, for our school children.
My career started not in Belmont, but the state that I came from. I did 36 years in the fire service. I served on building committees for the town that I lived in, which entailed building of the fire station, a police station, and a new town hall. I have some other committees that I was involved was with the EMA in the state of Rhode Island, and other than that, I can't give you any benefits to me in Belmont, other than I've watched for the last years the different events that have taken place that question getting involved. So that's the best I can do for you tonight.
So, I've served over 33 years in public service. I did volunteer back in the 90s for several years as a member of the Belmont Fire Department as a firefighter EMT, which really got me to know a lot about the town. The residents here are great, they were real supportive, and I believe they still are supportive of our different departments. 4 years ago, I ran to represent the town of Belmont as a New Hampshire state representative, and I am currently still representing the town of Belmont as a state rep in Concord. During my time down there, I have served on the Judiciary Committee, and also I filled in on other committees as needed to help out my fellow reps. I feel my experience down there, I have fought for a balanced budget, I have fought for tax cuts, and I've also fought and worked with my fellow reps to return money for tax breaks to communities, which I know we've returned some to our community here in Belmont. I feel my experience there would be an asset for me to serve here as one of the next Board of Selectmen. I've been a business owner. I've owned 3 different businesses, a landscape excavating, a restaurant, and also a security and traffic control company. So I learned how to manage budgets, prepare budgets, oversee budgets, the day-to-day operations of the businesses. So that's a little bit about me and why I feel that I would make a good candidate to serve on the Belmont Board of Selectmen. Thank you.
The following questions are for the Belmont Selectmen Candidates only. What is your vision for the future of the town of Belmont? What would you like to see for changes, and what do you want to remain the same?
Okay, one thing I'd like to see is, some balanced budget, some tax breaks for our elderly. I mean, that's one thing, I spoke to some people here in the community, and their concerns are they cannot afford the housing due to the tax increases that they're seeing. Also, for our military veterans, I'd like to see, if we could give them some type of break. I feel we need to see a little bit of commercial growth in the community, not a lot, but something to bring in some extra funding to help us with these tax breaks. Also, I'd like to see fresh blood in the Board of Selectmen, because when people start serving in any role, they become stagnant, or become stale and they have their opinions and they do not change. So that's one of the big things right there. Transparency, right now I know it's hard to attend selectmen's meetings because they have them during the day when most people are working. So I think if we could return back to an evening, or even if there's 2 meetings a month, maybe one during the day and one in the evening, so people can attend these meetings to know what's going on. It's all about transparency, and that's what I'd like to see with our leaders and the local governments. Thank you.
Yes, some of the visions that I have for the town of Belmont is one, to restore the public trust, also to, as Doug alluded to, transparency in town operations. Also, I would like to work towards helping, as Doug said, the seniors. I believe that they're underrated as far as housing, as far as tax breaks, as far as places to work, to have their meetings, as well as the vets. The process is overwhelming, I realize, but restoring the public trust is one of the big ones. A lot of people have alluded to the fact that they haven't seen that in a while. So that's some of the processes I'd like to try to work with.
So, the tax breaks for the seniors and the veterans, those are really good ideas, and those, for me, have not changed. Those have been something that I have felt very strongly about, so I will move on to other things that I would like to see in town. What I would really like to see is more involvement from the people and the public, and I thank everybody here, because, most of this is volunteer stuff. And it takes a lot of people to run a government and to run it smoothly. But it's a lot of fun. So I would really like to see a lot of, if more people would come out and join us in this endeavor to, keep Belmont, going forward. One of the things that I love about Belmont is it's home. It is home for a lot of us, and it feels like home. One of my favorite things, and I spend a lot of time reflecting that day, is Old Home Day. When if you go down there in the morning and you're watching people set up and the sun's coming up and the grass is wet and it's nostalgic. It takes you all the way back to childhood. And even at my age, watching the expression on people's face with our awesome fireworks display, I really just want, as our town grows, I would really just like our town to hold on to that feeling.
As we all know, we had a aging building that we held our police department in. And we all worked really, really hard to move forward and get a bond passed to construct a police department. We're fortunate, since we've built it, we have received a lot of grants. We have received a lot of equipment for that building that we were unable to obtain due to the condition the old building was in. And that took a lot of work, but everyone came forward. We passed that building, constructed it, and came in under budget. Huge. My vision is what I feel is one of the next big projects that we need to address in town, and that is our library. We have a library that is being used far more than what it was, say, a few years ago. We have an awesome committee that is in charge of the library, and they stepped back during the time that it was, we needed a police station. They took a step back in order to support that police station going forward. Now it's time that we look at the library. give them a chance, as well as everyone in the community. They do some awesome summer programs. They work with our Park and Rec, and I think it's important that that be one of our visions down the road. I guess we can go on to the next part is the mill building. We have obviously a building that we're trying to get ready for our town hall to move into, which has been the taxpayers' wish many times over. There's been studies done on it, and it has been in the process. We are trying to, with capital funds, to do the proper improvements to it so that when we move into that building, we're there for the long term, okay? Obviously, on my vision, we need to, unfortunately or fortunately, however anyone feels, we need to get rid of what everyone calls the old bank building. It's become a very eyesore in town, and in order, I feel, for the library to be able to do its addition, that needs to go away. We need green space, we need parking, not only for the library, but then for the existing town hall, and that's a vision, all right? We've been gradually working forward to that. Our plan this year is a generator. We did the elevator this past year. Our plan this coming year is the generator, and then hopefully we can then start with the interior and get things pulled together so we can get our town offices that people don't understand. They're on top of everyone. We have a basement in the existing town hall that is filled with archives, important things that we need to get out of the basement of our existing town hall and get it into the mill building. It's going to, when we move into that building, there's gonna not be much room left, that's for sure, because we have people stuck in every corner in that building at this point. That's my vision. Again, I'm only one person, but as we all know, if we've been to all the meetings, it went away. Mr. Time. I think it's dead. If everyone went to any of the meetings, we know that that's what the taxpayers were looking for. Thank you. This must be dead. It was just a Oh, that's right. You're right. Here you go, sir.
Alright, so for the last question, how can a town better plan for future use of town properties, and what do we need to complete current projects? Please explain your vision for the completion of the town hall and mill project and other infrastructure projects.
So basically, if I'm elected selectman, I would work with the other board members to see what properties that the town owns that can be sold to get put back on the taxes. Maybe we can take some of that money to invest in the mill instead of taxing the people more. If we can sell the property, and the way the property's selling right now, that would be something I'd want to look into. Is there a property that we own that we can get rid of and use that funding to work on the mill project or other projects that we have going in the community?
I would like to consider stopping the improvements to the mill building and to see if we could sell that building and either provide housing for the elderly, convert that, meaning the federal government to come in and buy that, which they would, and convert that to space for low-income housing, to the elderly. And look into taking the money from that establishment and putting something up on 106 that would house the fire department, the town hall, and yes, the potential police department, where it would be centrally located to respond to incidents at a quicker rate. The average rate for a response as for a fire, for instance, my house in 2010 had a garage fire and it burnt to the ground. It took approximately 12 minutes for the fire truck to show up. Actual Laconia beat them into the scene. It's a national standard to understand that it should be centrally located. Right now, it's not. I believe there's properties on 106 that would better serve the town, and by all avenues. There's federal grants out there to establish town government buildings that include police, fire, and the municipal side of that. That would bring everything to one building. That's what I would look at. Because you keep spending money, and if I'm incorrect or correct, I believe the taxpayers told, voiced their opinion a few years ago that they didn't want to spend the $3 million that was put on the table. I look at that, the mill building is, yes, it's part of the history of the town, but the taxpayers don't have the pocket to keep making the repairs. So if we have buildings in town that is saying that we need to get out of the present town offices, is it because it's unsafe or is it because it's small? Granted, if it's small, they managed this far, they should be able to for a short term. But I truly do believe that a public safety complex with the town hall all in one area would make better sense. And then leave the buildings that you're not using. I would also like to see a strategic planning committee, which I believe in 1996 was proposed, but for whatever reason it was voted down. So that's what I have to offer.
I don't really, I'm not really gonna address the situation with the mill because everybody has a different idea. And we have invested a lot of money into updating the building. So, I mean, it could go either way. It's a long discussion. But as far as the future of Belmont and what I would like to see is I really, really, really want to see an updated master plan. That has not been done since 2002, I believe. And this would help us investigate all areas of what the town of Belmont needs, not just building, but our infrastructure, our roads, our water, our sewer, our utility systems, all of that. And we really need to work on getting that done. The other thing I would like to see is an addition of one person or two people on staff to write grants. I don't know if anybody read in the town report last year, but our staff has done massive amounts of research and grant writing and getting money to come in to pay for some of the stuff that they need to offset. And I think it just might be something that we should consider hiring one person.
Wow. I could go on forever. Obviously, through the years, there's been, well, let's start with the police station. We had to have 3/4, 2/3, 3/4. We had to have 3/4 in order to pass that bond. And that was not a selectmen's vote, that was the town taxpayers' vote. So the taxpayers chose to build the police station in its present location with the present plan. The mill building, same situation, we have been through this time and again. Obviously, it started with grant monies and it rehabbed that building. We did have we rented out certain floors, we were under the grant obligation. When the grant ran out, we then could do with that building as a town. It is a town-owned building. The taxpayers through the years have made it perfectly clear to us that they did not want it sold. It is part of our community. I think some of us remember when our moms and dads and aunts and uncles all worked in that hosiery mill. And it is definitely a cornerstone of this town. Our plan has been right along to move our town offices into that building. This is the center, the library, the mill, the existing town hall is the center of Belmont. We are a small New England community. I want to see us stay and not lose that small New England community feel. And I feel if we're going to be heading out of town with everything, why do we even have a center of Belmont? I think the other thing that I just want to touch on is that a few years ago, as a selectman, we had a business, someone spoke about bringing more business into town. This present Board of Selectmen has brought more business into this town in the last few years than we have forever, I think. I even took the initiative to go down to Concord and speak in front of a Senate committee that was trying to pass a bill that would block convenient MD to come to Belmont, as well as a convenient MD in Littleton. They were trying to build both of those facilities. And basically it boiled down that our Laconia Hospital and the Littleton Hospital, with all their gentlemen in their three-piece suits, with their nice briefcases in Concord, trying to get this bill passed that was then going to eliminate the convenient MDs. My feeling was, competition is a good thing. And I also pointed out the fact that we weren't as fortunate in Belmont to have all the lakefront property and the high amount of people that live on the lake. And a building like that was huge for our community. And thankfully, the bill got squashed, all right? So there is a lot of things that go on that the Board of Selectmen is responsible for. I know one of the gentlemen spoke about night meetings. We are available for night meetings. We actually do have some night meetings. We have the library ask for night meetings, and you can be assured, we've all been on the board. We have no more people that come to night meetings than come to day meetings. The reasoning for the morning meetings is our department heads don't have to come in after hours. Some of the people are hourly. We would have to pay them to come in at night. During the day, it's part of their job, and they do come to that. But we are always available for night meetings. The other issue is some of us do serve on a lot of committees and boards, and we're finding that it's hard to do a selectmen's meeting at night because one of us or two of us have got to be at another board meeting. So as we, as a board, become busier, it does make it difficult. But actually, by having morning meetings, we're actually going to be on, what are we going to, YouTube? YouTube. We're going from whatever we were before to YouTube, which will make it much easier for people to observe or watch our meetings. Thank you.
questions for the Canterbury Selectmen. What is your vision for the future of the town of Canterbury, and what would you like to see changes for, and what do you want to remain the same?
Beth Blair again. It's very difficult for me to say what my personal vision of Canterbury would be, because I don't think my personal vision should be driving the conversation. As we've heard, there's a lot of people who weigh in, hopefully if somebody does a survey such as the planning board or the school board or even the farmer's market, we want to hear from everybody who's in the town, so that the more people who weigh in and the more common ground that we can find, that's how the town should be going. I like the small rural feel of Canterbury. A lot of people do. There's a large conversation going in the town at the moment about development and how we can be flexible enough to take advantage of some of the opportunities and make sure that we aren't just steamrolled by development coming up from the south. I would like to be part of that conversation. And I think there's a lot of people who there are people who grew up in Canterbury, who went away to school and want to come back and are finding it a hard thing to do. There are people such as myself who've been there a number of years who might want to downsize and stay there. That's not an easy thing to do. And there are a lot of new people that we would like to welcome to town to help us grow and to bring fresh voices to the conversation. But if they can't live there, they can't do that. So part of my interest of being select board is to work with the boards already in place to make sure that that conversation suits as many people in town as possible. My personal voice doesn't matter as much. This sounds very hallmarky, I do apologize, but it really doesn't. It's all of us together that are the current people in the town and the people that choose to live there, who haven't been there very long, but there are reasons that they chose being in that town. They're going to be there for another 20 years. I hope to be there for another 20 years as well, and I want to be part of that conversation. That's the biggest thing to me. That and the roads, actually. I'm coming to find out, even not being on select board, even just running for select board, everybody has opinions about the roads in town. I have people knocking on my door to sit in the kitchen and talk about the roads of Canterbury for an hour. It's a great conversation. I have a lot to learn, should I be on the select board, about the roads. I drove on some this afternoon. Let me tell you, I'm very interested in the conversation. And the infrastructure of town, we had a couple of large building projects a while back. As I mentioned, the big municipal center, the new library. Those basics are pretty good. We refreshed the town hall. We have a good place to work. Now we just need to make sure that the rest of the infrastructure, our transfer station is going to be able to meet the demands that it is going to have put on it, and the infrastructure that supports things like that. A lot of our equipment needs, again, to service the roads. So that's my vision, such as it is, to help the majority of the neighbors in town be able to continue to talk to each other. Thank you to Edgar for doing what he has done admirably, coming to these meetings and filming them for people who can't come for a variety of reasons. We're working to put the town newsletter and have a website edition. I'm involved with that currently to help get news out, to make the town email list a viable place for people to get news. And that's what I would like to see in Canterbury, and I think a lot of people would like to see in Belmont as well. Have everybody be part of the conversation. Thank you.
Wow. So my vision for Canterbury is probably a little different. You know, obviously there's, it's pretty apparent that I'm young. I'm 35. I've got 2 kids in schools, and I'm probably going to be in town for the rest of my life. So I have a very large investment in what's going to happen in this town and a vision of how I feel it should grow. The reality is the town is growing. We're We're getting pressures from the south, we're getting pressures from people moving up, same as Belmont. The reality is we need to figure out how to compensate. How do we grow the town while maintaining the town? And I think in order to do that, we need to do it calculated and slow. We need to understand what's coming in, how we can afford to grow with it, and what's in our best interest. You know, this year we had a school withdrawal committee that we pointed out our school carrying capacities, how many kids we have coming in, how many kids we have going out. Those are important factors that we need to take into consideration when we decide how we want to grow the town. Right now, cluster subdivisions have come up. A lot of people are very hot and heavy about that. They want to see more of them. I think we need to look at that because that is a viable option. As Beth stated, people are looking to retire in town and age in place. So 55 and older housing could be a very good option with good tax implications for the town and not a lot of stress on our schools or our other needs. Another issue that we need to look at is our commercial development. We have exit 18 that essentially sits unused. Exit 17 is growing in Concord with the Market Basket, the new convenient MDs going in, and all the other buildings, as well as their proposed 1,300 units. So we have to look and see what's on our borders, what's coming in, and how we can grow accordingly with it. I think that the town, if they take those considerations into account, and we look and see how we can best grow slowly, and we can still afford to be a town, I think that's a really good option. You know, as we said, infrastructure, highway department, maintenance, it's tough. We don't have a lot of new equipment. A lot of it's gonna potentially be replaced this year at town meeting with warrant articles. We just got a brand new fire truck last year we voted on, so we should accept delivery on that. There's a lot of budgetary concerns as well. We're a small town, we have about 2,500 people and a limited budget. So whatever growth we do, we need to find a way to inject as much commercial money as we can to lessen the burden on the taxpayers. And that's a difficult thing to do, and it has to be very calculated. Other than that, everybody wants to see the town stay the same. So how do you maintain that? You have to do it very deliberately. So I'd like to see a slow growth process in Canterbury, but it is gonna happen. We just need to find a way to control it and manage it for the best of our abilities and not let it overcome our town and change what we are.
Okay, so for the last question for the Canterbury Selectmen, the town and the planning board are working to consider future growth in Canterbury. How do you envision making Canterbury more welcoming and affordable to younger workers and their families?
That is a huge conversation that is currently going on in our town. Having gone to the public meetings that have been available from the planning board and seeing them work through the process, having talked to people who are on the planning board, I feel that they are doing a very deliberate job in looking to have Canterbury grow in a way that everybody can live with. I think the chairman of the planning board has done an excellent job of making sure that a lot of our ordinances are defensible, which is something that I hadn't even really considered. So you can have a town ordinance saying that you are not allowed to do this, that, or the other thing. But if someone comes in and has enough money and wants to do that thing and wants to take it to court so that they can do it, if your ordinance isn't defensible once you get into court, it almost doesn't matter that you have it. And a lot of the changes that are proposed this year on our planning board, I think, are pretty incremental to help strengthen what we already have in place to keep growth manageable. I don't get the sense that anyone is ready to dive in to big growth, especially in the residential market in Canterbury. It's a big conversation, and they're working at it piece by piece, but it can't be done all at once, and it's not going to be done quickly. We have people helping us look at the whole situation, and I think so far the planning board has done a very good job of trying to listen to the people who have weighed in on growth in the town. And there have been a lot of people who've expressed a lot of very strong opinions about growth in the town. And I feel our planning board has done a good job listening to them, as best they can. I mean, there's a lot of voices and not much time, and only so much you can do at one time. But again, I think for Canterbury anyway, we are trying to figure out how to keep as many people living there in an as affordable a way as possible and keep the character of the town. And that's, thank you.
So speaking in terms of the planning board's work, this has obviously been, the plan for tomorrow has been, oh gosh, 4 or 5 years in the works. You know, COVID put a stop to it and kind of slowed the process down. And then they brought in a third party, Central New Hampshire Planning, to help with the document. You know, as Beth said, there has been a lot of conversation, kickback, debate regarding it. I think in terms of the zoning proposals that they're bringing in this year, there is some validity to some of them, but some of them do need to be kind of ironed out a little bit more. In terms of defensibility, it is important that zoning regulations are defendable. It helps your town long-term save money both in legal battles, and it helps the residents be aware of what's going on. But the reality is we need to get this document done. We need to figure out how we're gonna solve this problem and move forward. 4 years developing a plan that's a lot of time. Most towns, you do your plan for tomorrow every 10 years. So our last one came out in 2010, this was due in 2020, and it's now 2024. So when they complete this document, we're gonna need to start planning for the future, again. In terms of affordability for the town, if anybody can wave a magic wand and figure out affordability, you can be the president of the United States, because it's not just Canterbury, it's not Belmont, it's not Merrimack County or statewide, it's nationally. And my personal belief is for something to be affordable, we need to change our perception of what housing is. I was fortunate to have a larger house when I built my home in 2010. Unfortunately, you can't afford to build 3,500 square feet, 2,800 square feet. Reality is 1,400 square feet is probably what most people can afford. So if we can try to find a way to develop housing in that range or that price range, we can get more people to move in town, whether it's 55 and older or if it's small subsidized housing, something to allow families to come in. We just need to build to people's price tags. And unfortunately, that's difficult when you live in a capitalist economy and people want to maximize their investment. You know, so that's going to be a very difficult issue to address, but I think it's possible. Canterbury is a strong community. They've got a lot of people with a lot of ideas. They've come together in the past to build the elementary school. So it's possible that the community can come together and find a solution for the problem. We could find a way to fund our own small housing or affordable housing and have residents remain in place. We can find ways to do it. We just might have to be creative. And that's the thing is, we can't just look at everything as black and white. We need to have a wider spectrum when we try to solve these problems, because they're all not defined and easily solvable. Housing is one of them. Affordability is one of them. Young families is one of them. It's very difficult for a young family to start out when the average house in Canterbury is $650,000 right now. I don't know many people who can go out and buy that and still manage to live day to day. It's very difficult, you know. So we just have to try to find a way that we can open the door and maybe work as a community to try to make some of this stuff happen. And I think we can do that.
Okay, so now for the school board candidates. Given that the state of New Hampshire funding for education has decreased each year, that this is leading to higher property taxes, what do you think the role of the school board is when it comes to the budget and advocating for more funds from the state?
So glad I get to field this one first. So, yeah, right. I'd like a magic wand that Calvin had. But I think there are two, to me, this is actually two separate questions. One is that our responsibility that we have to build a budget in the school district. So when we're building a budget in the school district, we have to look at all of the things that the students need, that the district needs to function. And we have to balance that with keeping the taxpayers at the forefront. And it is, you know, if I've learned nothing else in the past 6 years on the board, it's the complexities and the difficulties in actually creating a school district budget that focuses on high quality education, but also trying to keep taxes as low as possible. And I think that that is a really difficult balancing act that we go into every year. I think we are looking at really getting creative when it comes to the budget and really needing to take a hard look at where we're at as a community. We started having conversations this year, now that we are, knock on wood, coming out or are out of the COVID-19 pandemic. Where are we at in terms of the population of the students in our district, the needs of the students in our district, but making sure we're maintaining a high quality education, because I'm proud of the reputation of our school district. So I don't want to lower the standards within the school district, but at the same time, we have to figure out staffing patterns and what are some ways we can work smarter, not harder, and how can we kind of, as we go into the next budget cycle, really take a look at how we can get the most, like what are we looking at for class size, to really examine class size as a board, and really take a look at what does that mean at the elementary school, what does that mean at the middle school, and what does that look like at the high school. Really looking at some of those creative ideas in terms of still offering high quality, and are there other ways to do that, some out of the box thinking. And I think as school board members, we really have to understand, which gets into the second part of the question, which is advocating for more funds from the state. Before you can advocate for more funds from the state, you have to know how education is funded, essentially. So understanding where the different funding streams come from the state, where our funding streams within the school district comes from when it comes to, you have special education dollars, different federal dollars that come from the state to offset taxes. And then you also have, obviously, our property taxes and then monies we get from the state. So once you understand those concepts, we can then talk about how we can approach the legislator or our representatives to really understand where we're coming from as a school district. I remember a couple of years ago, Mr. Tercey brought in, I can't even remember the name of it, but essentially it was the fair funding, the school funding people, and they came and really talked about how our school district's funded. What does this look like when you have property poor towns, property rich towns? I think that was referenced here, not in relation to school boards, but when it comes to your tax base. And a lot of that really impacts what we can offer in our cost per pupil. We also are part of the School Boards Association, and we're active members in that, so we help set the priorities for the year so that they are able to go out and advocate on our behalf when it comes to the school district. And so I think as a school board, we have not taken, that I've seen, a specific advocating role individually or gone as a board to present in Concord or to advocate for something. I'm not saying we shouldn't do that. I think we can take a really hard look at what we can do as individual board members or as board members of a whole to say, hey, New Hampshire needs to pay their fair share in terms of the state monies. Now, state monies are also our monies as well. So that's one of the hard parts. So glad I got to go first. So now I'll pass it off to Jessica.
Thank you. All right, so the question, like Michelle said, is two parts. The first part is, role of the board in the budget, and the role of the board is to craft the budget. And in order to craft the budget, you have to look at the educational needs of your students while remembering to operate within the confines of the taxpayers in your district. As she said, and as we all know very well, this is a very difficult balancing act. So it becomes an interesting conundrum to, we want to give our kids everything and we want to do everything and be great for them, while understanding that when we do that, we have to pay for it. So, if I had a crystal ball, or a magic wand, we'd all be good. The second part is the advocation for state funds. And I think we need to take a step back and really remember where those state funds come from. Those state funds come from us. We pay taxes to our town, and our town pays taxes to the state. We pay taxes to the state. It's collected through taxes or fines and fees, which most of us pay because we live here, so we fund the state. So when we talk about advocating for state funds, in essence, we're advocating for us to pay more in taxes to send it to the state to then tell us how we can spend it. Because state money almost always comes with strings. They want us to do something, implement some program, hire some position, and then, as we're seeing right now, they step back on the funding and leave us holding the bag with how we're gonna pay for it. So, again, if anybody can find state money that doesn't come with strings that 5 to 10 years down the road is going to cost us more money, absolutely, I'm all for it. Just remember, when we advocate for those state funds, we're paying them with less control over how they're spent.
I'm not gonna reiterate a lot of this stuff. But I've been on the board for 6 years, and when I say I hold budget, I do, because we come up with creative ways, because first and foremost, we want the best for our children, but we also want what our teachers need within reason. But I also think of the taxpayer. I am. And basically everything they've said is, true to fact. But the only thing I can say about the state part of it, yeah, we do pay taxes and roundabout way, but if people within from our community could write the representative, I think we have one from Belmont over here, talk to them, see if they can advocate at the state level, write letters, email them. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. Thanks.
Okay, so how would you connect with the community and parents to get them more informed and involved in the schools?
Okay, in terms of connecting with the community and parents, communication is critical. And it's something we continue to talk about as a school board. I know that when we reviewed the withdrawal study committee's minority report, that's a mouthful too, one of the pieces that came up was communications. And the fact that we don't have a dedicated communications person. I realize that comes with money, but we have been really thinking strategically about how we could get students more involved, class credit for certain things in terms of getting messages out there in small, quick bites of information. What we know, and I only know this because in my professional life, I have a marketing and communications person, and I don't pay her enough. But one of the things she said is people take in small pieces of information very quickly. So we have to think about how we're messaging things to people in terms of how we get information out there to even get them to come in and engage. I think about our budget hearings where we have very low attendance. Actually, this year was better than previous years. Sometimes we get 1, maybe 2 people. We only had 3 budget advisory committee members. We want more people to come and really sit down with us at the table and engage, and we have to find a way that is different than what we're doing to get people engaged. And so I do think we have to take a look at communications. I think we have to work with administration. The role of the school board is really focused on I remember meeting with Mr. Tercey the first day, or right after I was elected, and then through the School Boards Association. The role of the school board member is the budget, which we were talking about. It's to evaluate the superintendent, and then it's focused on policy, right? And so if you look at that, everything we do falls under those things. But a piece of all of that is the community. In the families that the families and the community members in Belmont and Canterbury. So we need to hear from all of you in order to do our jobs and more effectively see what's going on out there. To do that, we have to work with administration. We have to work with the different, we need usually every year. I'd love it for it to be more, to meet with the Belmont Board of Selectmen and the Canterbury Select Board as well, to hear what's going on out there, and to hear what successes they've had in terms of reaching the community and getting them more involved. And I love that we've had, I came to this a couple of years ago and there were a smattering of people. I feel like we actually have more people here tonight than I've seen previously, and that's exciting to me. I want people to ask questions, I want people to be involved, and I want people to be able to push us to hear about where we need to improve and to really highlight what we're doing well. So I really think it comes down to communication, and I'm looking forward to focusing on that if I'm reelected.
All right, so this of the three questions was the one I was most excited to answer. I have a lot of ideas, I have a lot of things that I would like to see us do. So you'll probably feel my energy change a lot talking about this one because I work retail for a living, so I talk to people one-on-one all day long. I enjoy what I do. Talking to people is my thing, so when you're talking about community outreach and communications, I feel good about this one. One of the first things I think we can highlight on is transparency, finding a way to get our meetings published on the SAU website. So we record them, getting them on the SAU website. I'm not trying to belittle what Edgar does. I think it's wonderful that he does it. He has his YouTube channel. I think if we had more avenues to post it where people would know to look associated with the school, we could get more information out there to more people. Another thing would be a newsletter issued by the board. I know with Canterbury Elementary School, I'm sure the middle and high schools do it too, they send us a monthly newsletter highlighting some of the big things that have happened in the school over the last month. I think the board could really do this quarterly, but it's something they could release, these are the things we've highlighted in our meetings, this is what we're focused on, this is what we want to do, we want your feedback, we want you to tell us what you think about these things. If we're missing something that you want us to address, we want you to tell us that, and I think if we send that out from the board to the community as a whole in newsletter form, we can post it. I know Canterbury has the town email, we have the town websites, we have the libraries, Canterbury, we have the country store. We have all kinds of places where so many residents in our communities go that we can put that up in just quick blurbs, like Michelle said. People absorb small pieces of information very quickly, so we can highlight things that way, and I think that would generate some more interest. And lastly, I think we could do parent and community feedback sessions. So we have our school board meetings, they're on, the second and fourth Tuesday, right, second, fourth, first and third, second, fourth Tuesday at 6 o'clock at night. It's a school night, it's a work night. I'm not proposing that we change that by any means, but if we had feedback sessions at different times in varying locations in Belmont and in Canterbury, so that more parents, more community members could attend. We could have some on a weekend, we could have some on varying nights of the week, and I think that would generate more interest if people had times that they could come. I'm not saying we need to do it 3 nights a week, every week, forever, but throw 1 or 2 in a quarter to give options for people to come to ask questions. It can be more of a question and answer dialogue session. And we, as the board could then present to, this is what we're working on, and use that as another platform to get information out. So I'm very excited about that, and if I'm elected, that would be something I would really like to undertake and get out to the community more. Thank you.
Yeah, we can follow this up. Pretty much saying a lot of stuff I could say, but I know being on the school for the last 2 years, they've really improved it. They have a Facebook page, and they send out emails all the time. I guess the only thing I can say on the communication part is we'll try to improve on it. I'm really like to work on that, but also I think we need to have people be more involved in the community. Show up, pay attention to what's sent out. I know they send tons of emails and tons of Facebook, and I think we were talking about this when we were talking about the communication officer. The community doesn't pay attention to what we send out, so. Other than that, we'll work on it, but I have nothing else to say. Thank you.
So the last question is, what do you feel are the main points of emphasis emphasis that our school board should focus on in order to progress the district as a whole over the next 3 to 5 years.
First,
Go ahead, Jeff.
well, what I believe the board has been working on is really seeing, we saw a dip in our math scores and our reading scores, and a lot of that had to do with COVID, but we had actually one of the principals here who's gone out and worked on reading is Mr. Hill. And I'd like to see us progress with our foundation for our younger students, so they're stronger up through the years. Because I know when I was here, I mean, it was regimented, like homework all the time. We never had to wait for homework. K through 12, homework all the time. And as a board, I think we're working on that. I know they brought finals back to the high school last year, which is great. I think that's a good move in the right direction. We have to get back to what we were really good at. And that was just like consistency and regimen, constant, getting ready for either the real world or college, like prepare our students to go on to the next level. So the next 3 to 5 years, I know we're trying to get a new reading program. Silas St. James is working with us on that. And I would just like to see us kick up our standards for our educational levels and possibly take a look at our, well, actually we have people currently working on fixing the 1 through 4 scoring and making it more incentivized for students who excel so that they have stuff to shoot for. Other than that, that's it.
Okay, so I think that we need to focus on achieving academic excellence. Sounds like a catchphrase, really it probably is, but when we talk about dips in scores since COVID, obviously COVID set us back. I don't think there's anybody in this room that would contest the fact that COVID really set us backwards in education. But if you look at our test scores and our performance even before COVID, so you can go on the state website and see testing scores, and you can see back as far as 2016. We at Shaker Regional have been declining pretty steadily since 2016. So I don't think we can only blame COVID for our problems. I would like to bring our focus back to education. I'm not saying we need to get rid of extracurriculars, I'm not saying any of that, but I think our primary focus needs to be on education and what has happened since 2016, besides COVID, that has led to what we're seeing now. Sorry, I got excited and lost my train of thought. So I think we can examine the curriculum that we have. It sounds like they're doing some work on that. Examine the grading system. I know that they have talked a lot about that. I know there's been a lot of information and debate around that. But I think if we find a way to differentiate student achievement, because right now you can have 2 students with very varying levels of work and achievement receiving the same score on their report card. So like Jeff says, it's almost like a disincentive when you can do less and get the same score. We need to find a way to fix that, to provide incentive. And then, you know, as we push the students in academics, I agree with Jeff, having a regimen, having strong academic rigor. And as we get back to the students performing better, it will build their confidence. They will feel better about what they're doing, and they'll want to continue to do it. You know, when I speak to students in the community and they talk about, oh, I don't like math, so I try not to do it. For me, if I'm not good at something, I want to do more of it, not less of it. I want to get better. And I think if we can drive that kind of mindset with our students, hey, you're struggling with this particular thing, let's do it more. Let's find ways to work it into your day more, not just in school, not just in class, but what can you do yourself? And once they see ways that they can do that, then they'll want to continue. You know, the purpose of school isn't to teach kids everything that there is out there. We could never do that, even in a lifetime. But if we teach them the love to learn, then as they continue to grow and as they move on in their lives, they will continue to pursue things that interest them, and they will continue to learn and grow throughout their lives.
I totally agree with teaching the love of learning. And I'm excited that in the next 3 to 5 years, I really see that for Shaker. I feel like the quality education, we need to really look at what our student learning and achievement is and set some really rigorous goals and benchmarks related to those goals so that we can track progress in terms of seeing both from the preschool level all the way through grade 12 and take a look at that. And a piece of that includes the grading and reporting. So what are we incentivizing for students? How are we ensuring students are meeting the competencies and making sure that they are ready for our ever-changing world? I also think we have to take a look at different career pathways. So starting at a young age, we know that not all students go to college, and that's okay. We have to look at the trades, we have to look at the military, we have to look at the world of work, and we have to look at college as well, and we have to explore all those career pathways with kids and keep those truly high expectations for what the student wants to do. And we have to be, I can't even believe I'm gonna say this, but nimble enough as a school system, I don't know if that's even possible, to be able to make sure that we can actually respond to where our students are or where they may be going. I mean, they tell us that, the students in school now are gonna graduate and go on to careers that we haven't even heard of yet, which makes it really challenging to figure out how do we prep them. And I think it does come down to that love of learning. And how do we instill that in our students, but also get them exposed to all kinds of things and not pigeonhole them into going one direction or another. The other piece, I think, for our school district, and we talked about it briefly, but I do think we have to talk about communication with families, communication with the community. If a family doesn't understand what types of grades or where their student is progressing, that's a problem. And that's a problem for both teachers, for students, as well as the family members, because they can't support the students learning at home. And so we have to figure out a way to make sure that families know and the community knows and that the teachers know and are getting feedback in terms of how the student is doing. And I also think we have to increase student engagement. I'm really pleased that the Honor Society does this, and I know there are many other leadership opportunities that are happening at both the high school and the middle school, and I think the elementary school as well. And I think we need to foster those opportunities for our students so that they see at a really young age that their voice matters. How many people up here today talked about that they were graduates of Belmont High School or have been in Canterbury for however many years and raised their kiddos? Like, the students we have now are gonna be up here later, and so let's give them a voice now in what's happening in our school district. So, so that's really what I see: quality education, career pathways, communication with families and with students, and the grading and reporting pieces. Thank you.
Okay, so that's all the questions for tonight. Thank you for coming. You've given the voters much to think about, and a special thanks goes out to Mr. Matthew Finch, Madame Candice, and Miss Angwin for their tremendous work putting this together. Please help yourself to light refreshments provided by the National Honor Society, and thank you so much.